Welcome everyone. Thanks for attending. My name is Beth. I am from 108. I am the treasurer. And tonight we're going to be going over kind of our budget. We're also, you notice that we have a QR code. We're asking for feedback from all of you on the activities that we've done. Big dinosaur on it, looks like this. So you can take a picture with your phone and go in there and provide feedback on the activities that we've done throughout the year. And then we're kind of looking for input from all of you on next year's activities, what you'd like to see, how things went this year. Anything to add? Anyone? Yeah. All right, and then the presenters will just add their names and say, so get it.
So I'm Jessica. I am the former 108 committee chair. Bria's taken over for me, but I'm staying on as a committee member. So I just wanted to go through some of the activities that we've done this year, just because we, like I said, we're asking you to look back at what we've done and tell us whether you liked that activity or not. So we just want to make sure that we went through kind of what we're asking you to give us your opinion on.
And I guess Beth already kind of talked about all that.
Oh yeah, and this is our.
Forgot to hit the button. All right.
So things that we were talking about, like in the summer, we did a movie night in the park. That was in Rosemont. They showed the Sandlot. We had popcorn and that kind of stuff there. So it was actually quite a fun night. In September, we did the rocket launch. And that was.
That was here.
Oh, it's here.
Here. And that was also one of our recruiting events. That was quite fun. I know he's really enjoying things that it goes up. We always encourage people to go to the fall day camp, Spooky Bree, new scouts get a free fall day camp pass. So it's always something we encourage the new scouts to do. We had Rad Zoo come, our first official PAC meeting, to make it kind of fun or actually it was the second one, October, sorry, excuse me, just make it really fun for the kids, something exciting. Rain Gutter Regatta is always one of the really everybody's favorites. They get nice and wet water, get to play with their boats. We always have some tears, but it's always a fun event that we all look forward to. Salvation Army bell ringing, that's been a good service that we've done, service activity that we've done every year. It's always freezing cold. It's hard to get the kids out there, but I think they get a lot out of it. Feed My Starving Children, again, another really good service activity that's good for them to get out and do. The music's great, they have a great time. Sealing up bags and that kind of stuff. And then our Balloon Bowl banquet at base camp. And I know the faces on some of the newer scouts that love watching them walk in and just like their faces lit up, seeing all the stuff they got to do there, and that was really special to see. Also a little thing, the Polar Cubs. I know quite a few went to Polar Cubs this year, with the sledding and that kind of stuff. The Zoom Jam Party, that was we had to switch because of the snow, so but that was fun, making the worms, the worms they made and all that kind of stuff, worm races. Pinewood Derby. I didn't get to go to that one, but it was nice surgery. But again, always a very fun event. We had 7 families show up for Earth Day this year and pick up garbage. And then all the den leader meetings and other PAC meetings that were provided throughout the year. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for opinions on, whether you want to see that kind of stuff again. Is there other things you want to see us do? So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay.
I don't think we designate anywhere for upcoming events, but some of the things we have coming up, you all know me, I'm back in time. We have the rank advancement is going to be here in this very room on May 16th. So we're going to have our bridge and we'll let them cross over and magically become the next rank. We have a couple of recruiting events coming up. There's the 18th at Thomas Lake and June 1st at Oak Ridge, where we're getting the inflatable archery from the council. And we will hopefully have some interested kids swinging by the booth and just need some people there both to help with the archery and some people to just kind of talk up scouting and what you like about it and why they should join. And then, if you're signed up for the Star Wars camp, that's right there in between the two of those. I think the registration is closed for that one, but we've got a few families signed up anyway, so some of us will be heading out there.
Yeah.
You're on there, I did double check.
Great.
I tried to get a list of who is signed up, and I didn't quite get that yet, so, but there hopefully will be information coming out on what to expect. I know the scouts are working on planning it. And then this summer, we hope to have a bunch of events. They're still kind of in the works. The committee was focused on tonight, and then I think we'll switch gears and start looking at the summer next. But there will be a parade on the 4th of July that we'll be a part of. Camp Akela, of course, August 4th through 6th is our council camp, and that's always a highlight for a lot of families. We're looking at maybe doing a swim day, another movie night, and whatever activities you guys are interested in doing. If you've got things to fill in on that survey, we'll definitely take a look at that. That's the next few, and we'll turn it over to our treasurers.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the treasurer for 293. So we're just gonna go through kind of the numbers from last year. Our income was actually really pretty good. We had better fundraising than we had kind of planned on. So as you can see, the biggest portion of it there was from REIT sales and then popcorn sales. Cash dues was anybody who didn't fundraise, that was the dues that were owed by those families who chose not to fundraise, some right into their amount. The council transfers, that was the amount that you pay to register with the council. A portion of that, $20 per scout, comes to the PAC, assuming that the scout is registered on time and all that. That we get to use. The rest of that stays with council and national for other purposes. And then some other, miscellaneous stuff, t-shirt sales and sessions at the activities. So.
I just want to interject. Von Hansen's is really small up there because we took part in, the Troop was running the weekend. So we just had like one shift out of the whole weekend. So when we do our own in a few weeks, which I somehow left off of the upcoming events slide, Memorial Day weekend, we've got one signed up. It will be hopefully a bigger chunk than that 2% represents. You'll earn more than $136 this time.
But this is the total for all three camps, right?
Yes, this is the numbers for everybody combined. We're kind of behind the scenes, evening things out between the three packs. But this was we knew we were doing this at the beginning of the year, so we made a sort of combined budget. So yeah. And we had pretty even numbers of scouts between the three camps, and so it's
Right, we have begun this arrangement, the agreement of merging, not knowing what, new scouts would come in for each of the different packs. So I think we were really pushing that.
So essentially, behind the scenes, we're going to kind of divide up the costs for each, for all the events by, each pack will pay about a third for all of the costs. So yeah, if we want to go to the next slide, it's our expenses. Unsurprisingly here, our biggest chunk, about half, was paying for facilities and activities, so like renting the gym for the Pinewood Derby, providing the cars, providing the boats for the Green River Regatta, all that stuff. I guess some of that probably was in the program materials as well, but most of that was, again, that's what that is going towards. The recharter and meter registration. One thing that we did want to make sure to mention, if you do volunteer as, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the volunteer roles. Some of the roles actually require you to register as an adult leader with the council. And we've chosen to reimburse that registration fee for the leaders so that it's a little bit easier for everybody who wants to get involved as an adult.
Including the program materials that includes our awards, like the loops.
Oh, yeah. That's how it was. Is that how it was broken down? Yeah, that was the.
And
Yeah.
like neckerchiefs, and we did books for everybody.
Yeah, so, oh, and any of the patches and things that, we're providing to new scouts, at the beginning of the year. That'll help on other materials. So yeah, any questions about that or anything that the other treasurers want to add on?
I'll just jump in and introduce myself. At least I'm Dave Wicker. I'm the treasurer for 104. I guess, one of the things I did want to call attention to is the fact that we know that the national registration amount is high, and rumors are that they're going to increase it again. And just to point out that we only get $20 of that registration. All the rest of that money goes to national. This is the reason why we have chosen to charge dues and why we want people to fundraise. Now, one of the things that we're looking at is that our fundraising this year was better than expected, like Sam said, especially with the Rees, and we have a little bit of surplus right now, so we're hoping that one of these summer events, like if we do water park or something like that, could be at no cost to any of the scouts. That was our intent. The other thing we want to do is rebalancing what these expenses are, is hopefully reduce the dues that we do next year. We feel it's a little bit high, but we budgeted it to cover the events that we wanted to do. And then we were pleasantly surprised by the fundraising. So if that continues to go forward, then.
What are the dues?
There were 200 last year. One of the other things that I guess in the past, we haven't charged new members dues that join in the middle of the year. And we may start doing a reduced amount for new members next year instead of putting all of the burden on the veterans. But there was one other thing I was going to mention. I can't remember. Oh, one of the things that we have on the program expenses in dealing with the surplus that we have is that the dens each den has an allotment of money available for supplies and stuff like that. I think Becky was going to mention this, but if any of the den leaders have expenses or receipts from the year that we haven't seen, it's not too late to get them reimbursed. And as we go forward and get new den leaders in place, we want to make sure that they know that there's money to cover the things that need to be done. So it's not.
That includes like if you guys want to do outings with the dead or something like that, if you choose to go to the museum, it can help cover the cost of the museum, not just necessarily art supplies. And if you find you need art supplies, let us know because we have a lot. And we can usually provide what we need in that regard. But if there's like a snack, or
like in terms of,
Wool is needed or whatever need that you're doing.
The Lions just did a flower planting thing, so
Yeah.
buying that soil and the cups and the seeds and, whatever you need to do your activity.
one of the Weeblos requirements is to do a kind of cookout sort of thing, and so they had, they were able to use that money to buy food for that, so. Yeah, one of the really small slivers on here is recruiting, but like Dave was saying, we wanted to have some, at least one big no-cost event that would also be a recruitment event, so it wouldn't just be no cost for current scouts, it would also be open prospective scouts. To kind of grow the packs, because obviously, coming out of the pandemic, the numbers for all the packs are really low, which is why we're doing this kind of whole programming thing, so. Yeah. I think the only other thing was, whatever amount, we were hoping, that whatever the amount that the national or council registration goes up by, that hopefully we're gonna be able to lower ours to at least offset that, but we have to, obviously, we don't know what that number is yet. So hopefully it won't get more expensive per scout for next year.
Next.
Any other questions on that? All right, we have a brand new website that we've gotten started up. And as you can see up here, it says PAC 104 and 293. And that is because hopefully you all saw the email that PAC 108 is not going to be rechartering when that comes up around again. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, on a later slide. I think not. But basically due to volunteer numbers and numbers of scouts, we found that almost all of the scouts in 108 now are going to be 5th grade next year, so they're going to be bridging halfway through, and then we're just going to have a handful left. So it's a little easier for us to manage too by just having those moving into 2-packs instead of 3, but it is always sad when we have to close one down and try to move on, but website. So we have, this new website that will allow us to do all sorts of stuff. It will have a calendar right on there, so you can go and see the events. You'll be able to click on those events, sign up for things. There's, like, for the Von Hansens that's coming up, there'll be shifts that you can sign up for whichever shift you want to go to. Or if it's something where we need a count, like for base camp, we need to know how many people are going to be there so we can tell them. It'll tally it right in the website for us. It sends out an automatic newsletter every week. So it'll give you kind of a rundown of what's coming up in the near future and any action items that need to happen, things like that. And so that'll come out, we've set for Monday, I think it's gonna be starting to come out, so you can be looking basically at the same time every week for that email, and you'll know to expect it. Along the right is all of the upcoming events at the moment, and then down the left are pictures from past events. And then we've got that big welcome in the middle.
Anybody can upload pictures, so if you guys took pictures along the way, there's a drop down that just says, you know, upload, and then you get to select whatever event it was, if it's actually campaign, or whatever. So everybody can-
So this website is online now.
It is, yep.
Is there a URL? We-
So, yeah, we'll send the URL out to everyone, and
Okay.
you'll get an invitation to like check over your account, because it has a roster. So there are elements of it that are open, public facing, with a lot of really generic stuff, but all the pictures and things like that will be public facing. But then behind the scenes, you can log in, you can see the roster, you can sign up for events, some of the other things that will be hidden from view, but you'll get an invitation to check over your personal information and your child's information, make sure everything looks good there, enter in anything that's not filled in. We were able to import from Scoutbook, so it auto-populated like all the people for us, and there's some advancement tracking we can do through here. There's
Technology.
dues collecting we can do through here.
I think it's cool because the den leaders can utilize that to communicate instead of having to do, you know, that craziness that we tried to do this year.
Yeah,
Well, that was gonna be one of my,
Yeah.
we don't have a den leader, we just kind of rotate, so are we all,
Yeah.
all of us in our den able to like load stuff into the calendar and.
yeah, we can make sure everyone has the permission and needs to be able to do that. And then there's a forum also, 'cause I know the Wolves especially were talking about, you know, we don't all text, we don't all email, does everybody have this or that app? So there's a forum right on there that you can use to communicate with the whole pack or with individual dens or whatever groups we want to set up for it. So lots of tools. There's a little view of like the calendar view for this month, what we have in so far. On the bottom, there's kind of a blow up of how it looks to be able to sign up for shifts when you click into an event. We signed up just to make it look like you can do things. So, and then, yeah, as Bree mentioned, sharing photos from all the events. I think there's a button. That's not on that page, but when you're in the event, it could say, do you have pictures from this event? And you can just put them right in there. So that's very exciting for us, because then it allows us to have everything in one place. And with, you know, we've been very spread out. We've had multiple scout books and trying to keep track of, you know, which den leader is tracking which kid and all of that. So it would be nice if you don't have a den leader currently, if you could like pinpoint a person who might be the go-between from the committee to the den, just to have like a point of contact so that you can make this entering of stuff a little easier and communication of information. Any website questions?
Do you think the website will put that on email and stuff, or what will be primarily email?
I think we can email through the website, so you'll get that automatic one once a week, which should cover most of the communication we need to put out there. But then every once in a while, there might be something that, you know, will have to come out last minute and.
Definitely feel free to put feedback about, you know, that email communication this year, you know, what was good about it, what was challenging to weed through, all those things.
And I think we included a place to say if you prefer email or text, or like what method of communication works best for you in the survey too. So.
I think also, and we haven't really talked about this, but it just occurred to me that our events are a little bit more structured on a month basis rather than a weekly basis. Like there's always something going, so it may be that we don't send out an email every week, maybe it's every other week. Maybe it's once a month with those regular newsletters, we don't know yet, and it depends on how much communication we need.
All right. This is the one where we, for some reason, have the same slide in a lot of ways.
We wanted to make sure that we're clear about the structure of the leadership in the PAC so that it's, well understood, you know, what roles, why we have these roles. In order to reach our, we have our council, members for council. Each of the PACs are required to have certain representation, and they have different roles. And what they allow for us in this joint PAC situation that we can kind of be duplicative for all our different PACs. So it requires that there's a committee chairperson, and essentially that's a more behind the scenes person, but just to help coordinate a lot of the work that we need to do to make the program happen. The Cub Master is a very forward facing person, you know, we see that he's doing that every time. It's the person who's going to be really engaging with the scouts, somebody who has the ability to be in front of the group and make things go. We also are required still to have what's called a charter organization representative. And so each of our PACs, we engage with some community member, often a nonprofit group, that allows us to bridge some of our activities into the community. I think that's really the intent of what that role is. For many of us, it's very administrative, so it's just having a relationship with a different community group. Want to share, like, so 293, we work with the Lions in Rosemount. In the past, when we had been bigger 293, some of the coordination and the efforts have been around doing private cleanup and, you know, doing some of our service projects with them. We did eyeglasses collection for them, those sorts of things.
Yeah, one of course, our church is in Easter right now, so Eastern Lutheran Church is our current charter. We have a number of their congregations are rep.
108 is the Oak Ridge PTO and their charter. So this is what it is required for different roles. It needs to be a registered adult. And those people, well, that's like very minimum. Need to do the work. So the additional super important goals, of course, you know, having a treasurer, we want to make sure that, you know, I think we all participate in the budget piece of it, but having somebody who's the go-to be able to sign checks and work with me, and make sure to reconcile any refunds to the vendors, all those sorts of things.
And we made a conscious choice to make sure that each PAC has its own treasurer because they have its own accounts. We don't have one person managing everything.
The awards coordinator, with that actually, that designation is more about like the advancement stuff that everybody's doing. So we have been doing lots of double duty, lots of double roles among the senior. So we're all trying to figure out and make sure that each of the scouts, each of the dens, as they accomplish each of the tasks, we're tracking them all and so making sure that they get the recognition of advancement and they get their loops at each of our CAP meetings. So we're going to the scout shop and basically picking up the loops for those scouts that completed them. Making sure that we have the presentation ready for the scouts.
Really, just to talk a little bit more with the treasurer role, we work collaboratively, all of us, all of the committee chair, all of us, we budget. So it's not just, it doesn't fall on the treasurers, it's a collaborative effort on what things we're gonna do, so we meet in the summer. And try to plan out the whole year, so we know what our budget looks like. And so there's cohesion amongst us all, and we know, we try to estimate what we're gonna be spending. What realistically our budget is, what the kids that we know are gonna be re-enrolled. So it's just a real collaborative approach with all of us, it's not just one person making the decision. We all work together in this, in the past, working together has worked out really nicely. And I know with 108 Plain Way, I think that this will be a very good transition, smooth transition, for 108, as well. We have, whatever path the kids decide to go to, I think we've all worked really well together, so.
Yeah, I think we're not really even gonna notice the difference other than a number on a piece of paper, so.
Yeah.
Things will continue to operate the way they are operating now.
If 108 was through Oak Ridge, does that mean you lose access to Oak Ridge School? No.
No, we'll still be,
We can reserve any school in the district as long as we just reserve it. And so if we want to continue to meet it over, you can continue to meet it. Certainly, that could be something you put on the feedback of the survey, if you have a preference for location and like. There will be a more central location that is preferred. For open to suggestions.
but we'll still have access to recruiting and, being part of the events there, because we'll still, that school will be assigned most likely to one of our two, because the council and district already know that we have this partnership and that we're already there.
I do think we find that gym is easier to reserve for whatever reason.
It's because it only has half the gym, the sports or the self reserve, I think the other half is used for staff, so they don't have half the gym, so we're equally able to get it.
So even if we don't have, with the pack building, we may still use that space, just because it is, when we do reserve for the community, it is one of the. Usually, one that we can take.
So some of the roles you can see on here, more than just those primary roles. Of course, there are service projects that we love to engage our scouts with. There are the different main events that we run, and those take a bit of coordination. We would love to have families, and we did have a couple families this year, really take on an event and be able to make shape what that looks like. It's not necessarily our committee's priority to make the Pinewood Derby a certain way. Families are really excited about moving an event in one direction. We're excited to work with anybody who is interested. But also, so that can feel like a big broader role, but we also have people who just like pick up the phone for us to bring to the event. So we've had some nice volunteering. We'll keep looking for that.
I think the big point here is like, so we have, I think I counted 11 families up here that are actively doing jobs this year out of about 30 families in the pack. So we have a few jobs that are not getting covered and just sort of falling to the bottom. So all of the things in yellow down there are things that we could definitely use help with if you're interested in getting involved.
If we're driving our programming towards a certain, like if we want to open up more camping opportunities, we need to have somebody to help us with that coordination. If somebody really wants to live with their kids, sometimes it's just reserving a space and helping us to create the shape of the activities while we're eating.
So when you do camp outs, is it always coordinated with the Boy Scout troop, or you camp by yourself?
Not always, no, we can do it on our own.
Okay.
One position I do want to point out is Daniel has, been working, one way for us as the, charter board rep for 108 to our charter board.
So I think I misrepresented that.
That's not confusing at all. So, he goes to the PTO meetings and represents the PAC at our charter meetings. So, we'll find out if there's things that we can do to help our charter board, and sometimes they have jobs they want done, and that gives us, service projects as well. So that's also something somebody, if they want to go to a Lions meeting and say, is there something we can do to help? So those kind of, just having that representation at the charter board as well is a nice thing to have. So it makes we have that connection to the charter board.
These are the folks that are transitioning. And Jessica continues to work with the people who should have scouts in our pack, so it's, there's some goals that are desperately being filled and supports to our gap. Show up, and not long after this year's transition, next year's transition, will also have our co-master. So, things like just shadowing one of the folks in what their role is before you take on full responsibility, that feels better. That's great. We can have an assistant co-master with Becky this next year. And learning the ropes, and if that makes that transition into a co-master role, or if you want to have a co-master, whatever shape that looks like. That would be so good for our.
One thing that we do, so I'm one of the Weeblo den leaders, we alternate, so Dave and I, and his wife Heather, we alternate, so if that's something, if you're not really ready to commit to a solid gen leader to do it every single time, we do every other month, and that works out really well for us. So we know ahead of time, we kind of map out the schedule for the whole year. And so then we can research and we know which months we're gonna do, so we can plan ahead. And that, I really enjoy working with Dave and Heather, and that works out really well for us. So that's something even, if you're having a hard time committing, like, oh, I don't know if I want to take on that full leadership responsibility, we kind of co-leader together, and that's worked out really well for us. And we've been doing this since kindergarten.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
kindergarten, I think we did the rotating.
Rotate, so I think.
After that, it's been more.
And I apologize, I realized a couple slides ago that Dave should be up there with Heather on the box, and I just communicate with Heather so much that I don't see you as often, and I should have had you up there, I apologize. Yeah,
Postscript.
before we send it out. But another way you can partner too is if there's someone who likes being up front and leading the meetings more, and a second person can maybe just be tracking who showed up, what did we earn this time, and being that communication liaison piece. There are all sorts of different ways you can split up jobs, and any of these jobs, if you think, oh, well, Pinewood Derby sounds kind of fun, but I don't want to do it all by myself. We had a team of 3 people who got together this year, basically planned our Pinewood Derby and executed it, and it went really well. So.
We have so many resources. We have experience from past events. We have tools and all kinds of things in our storage. So we definitely will increase that.
And this past year, and even a little bit of last year too, we've been tying in some of the Boy Scouts. We've been recruiting them to some of our events too. And that's worked out nicely. It gives them an opportunity to have more of a leadership role and fulfill some of their responsibilities as a Boy Scout. And it gives something, it's nice to see our Cub Scouts, the boys in that, or girls in that role too, when they come to our events. So we're seeing some of that too, that's been implemented in this last year and a half. That's been a great partnership. We've had a couple of Boy Scout troops.
So there's things to consider and give us feedback about, in the survey, it does highlight, different opportunities to say like, this is the thing that I'd be great to do, or interested to learn more even, certainly not just expressing interest in not obligate, it's fine to be fact finding and learning about these different things. But we love, you know, like if somebody's ready for photography, please feel free. Social media stuff, crazy technology is awesome. Whoever's got those things, we're glad to.
Yeah, and the positions here are more of kind of the year-round ongoing things at varying degrees of involvement, but things that would be happening throughout the year. And then these are more specific events, so whether if you're the kind of person that likes to put everything into one event for like a month and then forget about it the rest of the year, then these are your kind of positions. If you'd rather just, you know, have a little time here and there spread out through the year, then the other positions are maybe better for that. There's something for everyone. If you like to shop, awards purchasing is available.
Easy.
We've covered kind of a lot of this stuff already, but.
We've gone over our time, but we are certainly open to discussion and the questions that you might have.
I'd just like to make a comment. My grandson, Jackson Zapata, is in Pac 104, and he's getting really excited about scouting. His uncle, my son, was in scouting since first grade, and I was a lead for 12 years. And it isn't just seeing that the boys are having fun, because obviously that's important, but I made so many friendships with the parents over the years, going on camp outs and stuff like that. Just like you guys sound like you're really working together, and really encourage parents to try and, you know, get a little involved. I want to kind of get re-involved. I'm not ready to jump in a registered leader role yet, but I certainly want to help the pack and see what we can do to keep things moving.
Relationship, I mean, that's what it's all about, you guys. We're just glad to keep our scouts together.
We learn lifelong skills.
And we tend to have a little fun at committee meetings.
Which are open to,
Anybody.
yeah, anybody on those, so if you have, and especially, early in the year, or, you know, end of summer when we started our planning for next year, if you have, you know, events that you did, that you remember doing with your son, that you want to, you know, for next year, we're open to that. Gotta, you know, I think it's not our intention to repeat every single activity we did this year, just do it again next year, so. You know,
And also, we'd love input from den leaders about what money they want to spend on their den activities too. We shot in the dark, put a blanket number down for all the dens, and that doesn't necessarily cover it, so.
Especially when we forget to tell some of the dens that it's.
Well, to be more transparent next year.
Yeah. The key reason we need a den leader. You know these things.
One other comment, you all have more than carried your weight, and you kind of carry the weight of the pack, so I just want to say thank you for everything you guys have done.
Our kids are here too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For the people who leave it after, we've got this being recorded for Zoom, so we'll share this with the bigger group, but this just gives an opportunity to get into the survey, and we'll be glad to take a look at that. If anybody wants to be identified and responded to, you are welcome to put your information into one of the text boxes. So I purposely made it so that it's anonymous, so that any feedback can feel like they're free to make whatever comments they want to make. But if somebody wants to respond, just leave them.
And our intent also is for some of the stuff to be not just like parents feeling about it, but also scouts. So involve your scout, your kids in that. So you kind of know which events they liked and which ones they want to see come back. But we're looking really for both sides, parents and kids.
Any other questions?
So great, you guys came. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, and we'll be around if you want to come talk one-on-one of things too, so.
Don't forget to contact your CAC leader about any advancement things that you might have.
Yeah. Oh, and I was gonna point out, there's a checklist on the table down there too. if your child hasn't earned the outdoor activity award yet, if you went to any of the council camps, so Camp Michaela, Fall Day Camp, Spooky Reed, Fuller Cubs, you probably have earned the outdoor activity award. So if they don't have the big one that goes on the giant pocket flappy thing yet, check down there and just kind of give a quick check mark down the row, and, you know, it's stuff like spend a day in the park and go to the beach, and it doesn't have to be pre-scouting, it can be stuff you've done as a family in the last year. So mark those down and we can get them a really cool giant patch.
And our crossover event will be right in this room too, so. Yeah.
I so I work here. If there is I don't know what the availability in the building was as far as cafeteria or this room is really loud. And like, I'm thinking like with kids, instead, and knowing how it's knowing how it's like to run around like these stairs. I know how my middle school is behaving in this room. And, I might be concerned with these little rooms, so I don't know if there's anything else available that evening, but.
Check it out.
Yeah. And if it's nice out, we could go outside and do it in the,
We have a nice, and we don't use it that much, but there's a little outdoor classroom space, it's not super big, but there's like some stones that you can sit on, they have a little court where there's tons of field space. I mean, there's lots of athletics that use the spaces, but. You know, well,
I think, yeah, Oak Ridge was busy that night. I need to find it.
More ceremonial in here and then get our.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna take the little carnival piece outside.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for sharing.